says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. And everyone who loves has been born of God." John tells us that it's God's very nature. He says God is love. And here he tells us that that nature has been put within us. You have the DNA of God. You have God's DNA running through you. You have love that God has put in you. Among all, above all, put on love. In surveys among people who are looking for a church, they're asked, what's the number one thing you're looking for? And in survey after survey, the answer is always the same. The number one thing people are looking for in a church is a warm, friendly, loving church. Number one thing. In fact, in one survey, people that joined the church were asked, when is it you made your decision to join the church? And their decision to become a part of that church happened before the sermon, praise God, before worship even started. It happened when they stepped on the campus and met people. The number one thing people are looking for in a church is love, warmth, and friendliness. A member shared with me a story of a friend of his who 3 years ago became a Christian. He found Christ in a Spanish-speaking worship service. Now, the amazing thing about this is that he hardly spoke any Spanish. He, at work, was talking with a coworker about music and shared his love for the drums, and she was a drummer, and she shared about her love for the drums, and they were talking, and she said, I play drums for a band. Would you come and listen to me one time? He said, I'd love to. Of course I'll come and listen to you. She said, well, it's at my church. Well, at that point, he couldn't get out of the, affirmation that he would come and listen to her. He said, okay, I'll come and listen to you. And she was playing in the worship band at the Spanish-speaking service at a church. And he went there, and he didn't speak Spanish, but he was so moved by the love and the warmth and the friendliness of these people toward him. He said, I'm going back. But the next week, he went back to the English-speaking church that met in the sanctuary. And after the service, he went to the fellowship hall for coffee, and one person spoke to him. Next week, he went back. No one spoke to him. He went back another time and was so dejected over the lack of love and warmth there, he decided, I'm giving up on church. And as he was making his way to his car on that fourth Sunday, the woman that had invited him to the Spanish-speaking church happened to be leaving at the same time, and she said, how are you doing? And how do you like church? And he said, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm not going back. And he shared with her why. And she said, look, come back to the Spanish-speaking service, and I will find you an interpreter. Please come back. And he did. And within 2 weeks, he became a Christian. 3 years later, on Sunday morning, before worship, he teaches English as a second language. And then during the Spanish-speaking service, he plays drums for them. Our language is love. That's the language of the church. Above all, love. Above all, love.